Good morning, everybody. Happy Sunday. Bright and early, right? Bringing you the content on a regular basis, a more regular basis. Not to say that I'm not about to get revved up, busy volunteering this fall. So, the next coming weeks, we're going to be fairly busy. I'll be doing some volunteer work. I do it every year. So, we may not get this consistency, but let's be thankful that I'm pushing out more content on a consistent basis, okay? So I wanted to also make a little announcement. Decided to sign up for Twitter. I'm not a social media person so much, but I want to also try to bring in some youthful people, some younger people, because this would really be applying to them as they mature and get a little bit older. I think this wisdom that I'm pushing out could be helpful to them now. So I joined Twitter, and I probably have my daughter monitor it because she's younger and she knows the lingo, which is I don't. So I'm hoping to bring in some younger people, um, just share this information on a wider platform so people can be informed about just criminal matters, forensics, things like that. So the case that we're going to talk about today, I found it to be very interesting. Um, this case is involving two actors. So behind me, you see Austin, and then you see Tanner. Tanner is the main subject in the case. Both of them, uh, Tanner has been sentenced. Austin, I believe he'll be sentenced in about a week. But they both were involved in what happened. This is basically involving drugs. Um, and because some drugs were lost or they could not be located, actions were made to try to elicit what happened to the drugs, right? So there's some torture, there's an S assault involved, an abduction, so things like that. So cases that we've talked about in the past involved abductions, S assaults, of course. We haven't really dealt with a lot of cases that involved drugs. I try to stay away from those cases because they can be complicated, especially if you have the cartel involved, gangs involved. Sometimes you get a lot of retribution, revenge. Sometimes those can be gang initiations, and I don't really want to get involved in those type of cases because one, they're dangerous. You don't want to be harmed. You don't want to get involved and share some information. Just reporting the news, right? Sharing the news, and also they can be kind of complicated. Sometimes you have revenge where one gang is responding to another gang, or you have this fighting for years and years over territory, things like that. So I don't really want to get involved in those type of cases, but this one is a little bit different because Mr. Danielson, he was trying to recover those drugs, and he went allegedly through some great lengths to try to do that, to try to find out what happened to those drugs. So this is involving thousands and thousands of dollars in drugs. And of course, if you cannot produce the money or the product, then your life more than likely will be in jeopardy, threatened, and you may possibly be unalive. So that's why I'm bringing this case. But in the future, again, I'm not going to bring a lot of cases with these issues. But I think this one, I can kind of do this one. Okay, so let's get started. So as always, I'm always sharing on the Facebook Hidden Horror page, right? That is the hub for me. This is where all of these documents, videos, links, legal definitions, I want you guys to not just come and listen to these videos, right? I want you to be educated. So I'm going the extra step I'm putting in those legal terms. I'm sharing the links. I want you to not just listen to these videos, but gain the knowledge where you can share this. You can describe what's happening in these cases with that knowledge, knowing the differences between different hearings, different charges. I have all of that on the Facebook Hidden Horror page. So that is the starting point, the jump off point where you can watch these videos later. You can go and look at the documents. If the complaint is filed, it may be on my page. If I'm referring to it and telling you to check, it's on there, right? So I just want you to be comfortable and learn the land and the layout of my Facebook page. It's just a great resource for information. Now, my YouTube channel typically has the same videos. I'm broadcasting, streaming live on Facebook and YouTube at the same time. And hopefully, I'm not sure how Twitter is going to work because those videos, they have limits, time limits, and my videos tend to be um, typically more than 20 minutes, can be upwards of about an hour. And then at times I have longer videos, maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours, right? So I'm not sure how Twitter is going to work, but my main page is Facebook because it has both the documents, the records, the videos, and it also has the shorts, right? So the shorts on Facebook, they're a little bit different from the shorts on YouTube. Each platform has their own restrictions. They have music that's allowed, music that's not allowed. So I have some shorts on YouTube, and then I have shorts that are going to be a little bit different on Facebook. But you can use either one. But Facebook has everything. It is the hub, the center for my page. I like YouTube because YouTube forms playlists. So if you just want to listen to or watch the videos, you can just do that. Or if you just want to listen to or watch the shorts, you can just do that. Whereas Facebook has the content plus the videos, right? And the news clippings and definitions and information detailing, like, for example, what is community policing, right? We talked about that in the prior video. Community policing is how the police and the community come together, plus businesses in that area, to reduce crime, to form a better relationship with the police so you don't have fear by the police and also fear by the community. So they're working together to reduce crime, to communicate, to form alliances where they're combating crime. They're basically doing crime prevention. So those are the type of things that's on Facebook, which I love. I love my Facebook page. It's been great to me. It lets me hold all of the kitchen sink in here, and then YouTube will be more videos and just the content that I have created. And then Twitter, I sent out my first tweet today, said, hey, check out my live video. I'm going to be going live shortly. So come in, check it out, or catch it on the replay, right? So I'm going to describe the differences. I don't plan on opening up any more accounts. I do not have the time to manage all of these accounts. So my daughter, as my assistant, my employee in a way, is going to help do that. So we can continue to bring this great content to you in a consistent manner. And I purchased a microphone, but I have to have my husband help me set that up because I'm not a tech savvy person. So I just rather him kind of help me through that so I can improve my sound. My young nephew told me, Auntie, you have to work on your sound. The funny thing is, in different areas, you have a different sound. I had did a video on vacation, which people may not have known. I was out of town and my sound was terrible, but my voice was raised. It was loud, but it's just how the Wi-Fi catches your sound and everything. It could go bad. Different areas that I've done multiple videos in, my sound can be bad, or my Wi-Fi can be bad. So I'm working on this out. I am working on creating an office. It's just I am so extremely busy. I'm getting better. Things are slowing down with some of my commitments, but as I said earlier, I volunteer a big portion of the year, and that's going to be starting. It has already started, but it's going to really kick off, and I'll be moving forward on that. And that takes up a portion of my time also. But I'm trying to cut out pieces of my day, and that's why I was doing a lot of the videos late at night or early in the morning. So I'm working on it, everybody. But let's get started with this case, right? So our main person that we're going to focus on is Mr. Danielson. He is the main actor, and that's why his name is in the title. Now, Mr. Woodham, he was basically pulled in to this. I do not believe he initiated everything, but let's read these articles and we'll gain some more information about what happened, right? So the article is coming from Fox News. It's titled, and this is from September 8th, okay? Sadistic, September 8th, 2023, to be specific. Sadistic cartel drug runner, abducted pair, tortured man with torch, assaulted woman over massive pot heist. Okay. Nebraska welder Tanner Danielson tortured and branded a man he believes stole 50 pounds of marijuana. A Nebraska welder who tried his hand at drug running after meeting cartel members at a Colorado concert will spend decades in prison after kidnapping a suspected pot thief, torturing him, and assaulting a woman he was with that night, according to local lawyers. So Mr. Danielson, he was not involved in drugs. He went to a concert. He met allegedly cartel members that brought him in to the drug war. He has now allegedly kidnapped a couple that were suspected of stealing this large quantity of marijuana. Allegedly, when he abducted them, he tortured the man, branded him, and he assaulted the woman. So we have 3 crimes right there. So we have abduction, we have torture, and then we have the assault, right? So I want you guys to be thinking like a legal mind. You know, what are the charges, right? Okay. Tanner Danielson, 31, was sentenced to 40 to 50 years for kidnapping and 30 to 40 years for the assault after he abducted the two on July 29, 2022, prison records show. So everything happened a little bit over a year ago, and now he's being sentenced. Now, he pleaded no contest to charges in June. So that will be June of 2023. So no contest, and I'll put the legal definition after this video on the Hidden Horror page. So no contest, I'll tell you what it means. You're not denying that you did it, but you're also not admitting that you did it. And there may be reasons for this. So this is taken as the judge is going to take this as an admission of guilt because he's not wanting to say, I am guilty. And this could be because, in my experience, it's usually drug use. Unfortunately, a lot of people that are addicted to drugs, using drugs on a regular basis, certain drugs have different effects, right? So they may have a person hallucinate. They may have a person just not acting in their normal way. Some people use drugs, they get paranoid. Some people get angry. Some people get hungry. Some people get sleepy. It's all type of effects from drug use, right? What I am guessing in this instant, this person, and I'm referring to Mr. Danielson now, he may have been impaired. He may have taken drugs. And this may have altered his decision making. So I'm trying to talk around it very carefully because I don't know personally. I'm not familiar with this case at all. But the no contest uh, admission leads me to believe he may have been using drugs when all of this happened. So his thinking is altered, his decision making is altered. Um, he may have been more likely to go down the wrong path because a lot of these drugs, they alter your brain cells, they kill your brain cells. I'm not sure if he was on a certain type of drug that would have made him believe that he could do all of these things, whereas his normal regular self, he wouldn't have done this. So there's probably some admission that because I was on this drug or that drug or these drugs, this has altered my thinking and I made a lot of mistakes. So because I was impaired, I did these things that I would have never done. And I got with the wrong people and I was using drugs, and this is the result. So there's probably some regret behind what has happened. But let's read on. That's just my interpretation when I read something like the person pleaded no contest to the charges. There's probably some factors in there. Um, I don't want to say they're mitigating factors because mitigating factors, they're usually bringing those up um, to kind of show a diminished capacity. So I don't want to say that's what this is, but when I read something like this, especially if this person was not involved in drugs, they were not selling drugs, they were not using drugs, they didn't have a history. This is typically somebody that's getting involved after using the drugs, and now their state of mind has been altered. So they're making bad decisions. They may start stealing. They may be trying to continue that high because in the United States, honestly, we have a major drug problem. Now, in the past, we had a lot of areas, and I don't want to say what I'm really thinking, but in some areas, drugs were rampant, right? So I can give you an example of like in New York, it was a time where people were dying right on the street every day from drug use in areas as well. Just like right now, we have a big problem with fentanyl. Fentanyl is highly dangerous. Someone could take it one time and pass away. Um, but we were having problems in the United States with drug use. And then we ran up against a problem with prescription drug use because instead of buying the drugs from a dealer, from someone on the street, people started going to doctors. They started um, misusing their medication, overusing it, faking injuries to get it, buying other people's medication. So we began to have a big problem with prescription drug use. And once um, this was identified, a way about making the changes, making it harder to get those prescription drugs. So, for example, and the emergency rooms, you would have a lot of people coming in quickly, um, stating that they were injured, that they were in pain. Maybe they fell, whatever the reason it was, and they would be wanting a prescription for the opiates. Um, they were basically trying to get the prescription drugs a lot cheaper. Um, Say you get a prescription that would cover 2 or 3 months, and you may be paying less than $10. So instead of going and buying drugs from a drug dealer on a daily basis, every couple of days, you're getting a prescription now. Or you know someone that already has a prescription and you're buying their pills. So that's a big problem for a long time in the US. And what they found is if they can kind of monitor the prescription, so you have people that have doctors, their primary care doctor, you have people that were going to the emergency. If they could work together, if they could combine their systems, they could see what prescriptions were already ordered for these patients. And that would help them monitor what prescriptions were going out so they weren't overly giving people prescriptions. Or if you say you lost your prescription or you ran out of pills or you need a refill, they were going to monitor it better. There was a time where prescriptions were being written on paper, and they pretty much eliminated that. So no more walking into a drugstore with a paper prescription, because those were fraudulent. They made it so the doctors in the hospitals would immediately send over from the doctor's office, or the hospital staff would send over the prescription directly to the pharmacy. So now, for example, when you see your doctor, say you have glaucoma and you're getting a refill on your eye drops. They ask you, well, what is the local pharmacy near you that you want to pick up your prescription? You tell them, and then they electronically send the prescription request. So that has also reduced some of the prescription drug use. Like I said, fentanyl is hitting many areas. It's very cheap. It has a strong impact, so people quickly get addicted. And unfortunately, people are just falling out from its use. It's very dangerous. So I'm not sure if this is what happened with him, but to read that had no experience, no drug use, he's basically going to a concert, meets the cartel members, and he's pulled into this world. And this is a different world from him. And maybe that's why he did it. Maybe he began to use drugs, and now he's taking on the responsibilities of the cartel. And they want those drugs bad. They want to know who did it and if they can recover the drugs or the money. Because 50 pounds, I think they were estimating the value to be about $200,000. I can check it from another article, but I think it was about $200,000 in value. So anyway, let's continue to read. So he pleaded no contest to the charges in June, believing the cartel would harm his family if he did not recover 50 pounds of marijuana that had been stolen from his house. He kidnapped the pair, drugged the man, tortured him with a blowtorch, and hung him from a forklift, according to the Lincoln Journal Star. So let's back this up. Let's read this again. So Mr. Danielson, he believed that the cartel was going to harm his family. So he felt threatened. He was in fear. And I am reading between the lines and assuming that the cartel gave him this 50 pounds of marijuana with the expectation that he was going to sell the drugs. However, the drugs were stolen from his house. When the drugs were stolen from his house, he must have went back to the hotel, allegedly, and let them know what happened. And that's where the threat to his family occurred. So I guess he must have honed in on who they thought could have stolen the drugs. And this is why he kidnapped the pair. He thought that they were the actors who stole the marijuana from his home. So, again, according to this article, he drugged the man, he drugged him, tortured him with a blowtorch. And I believe he wrote into his skin the word thief. I read that from another article because there's a lot of articles of what happened. So maybe we'll get some details when we read the second article. And that's why I also share different articles from reputable sources, of course. Then he hung him from a forklift. Who does this? You have no experience selling drugs, being a drug dealer. Now you're working with the cartel and you're acting. This is so far. I don't want to say evil. Um, this is it's pretty scary. This is scary stuff. So he hung him from a forklift, allegedly. Okay, according to this Lincoln Journal Star. Quotations: only a sadistic and evil person could do these things to another human being. Judge Susan Strong told Danielson in court, according to the paper. So the judge referred to him as sadistic and evil. I'm honestly thinking, you guys, he was probably on drugs. But let's keep reading. While the victim was tied up, Danielson used the torch to burn the word thief into his flesh. Yeah, I remember reading that. Okay. Then he sexually assaulted the woman, drove the man 50 miles outside town, and left him tied to a tree. If you're driving 50 miles, man, you're driving like 45 minutes. That's a long time. Like, what is he thinking? He probably didn't know what to do with him. He didn't probably have it in him to unalive him. So he probably was thinking, what do I do with him now? I've tortured him. I've tried to get this information from him. I'm trying to force him to tell me where the marijuana is, or did he sell the marijuana? What happened to the marijuana? So that's probably why he drove him 50 miles and he just left him tied to a tree. He was not thinking like this is wild. Let's keep reading. The victim escaped. So the man escaped and flagged a passing driver who called 911, according to Lincoln police. Gage County deputies responded, found him with 2 black eyes, burns, and other injuries, according to the paper. So he had been beating him, attacking him, burning him with the blowtorch. He told them he was held captive and tortured for 12 hours. The victims thought they were meeting up with Danielson and his accomplice, Austin Widham, to buy cocaine, according to authorities. So the ruse was they were supposed to meet for a drug sale. So he was meeting the pair allegedly to sell cocaine, but that was untrue. That was just to get them there. By getting them there, then they could take control. He brought in Austin Widham, and that was probably the help that he needed to kidnap and abduct them both, to try to get the information to what happened to the 50 pounds of marijuana. So the victims thought they were meeting to buy cocaine. A U.S. Marshal Fugitive Task Force captured Danielson on August 1st, 2022 in Rapid City, South Dakota. So he didn't return back to Nebraska. He went to South Dakota. Whitham, 28, was arrested separately on assault and false imprisonment charges. He has not yet been sentenced. So Whitham, he did not do the torturing, because he was only arrested for the assault and false imprisonment charge, and it doesn't sound like he did the S assault either. And he was probably not there for the abduction then, because he's only being charged with false imprisonment. So that's the holding part, not just abducting a person, but not allowing them to leave from their free will. So that's probably how he got the false imprisonment charge. But he also helped in the tag to maybe Brandon and Bernie, and that's why he has the assault charge. So that's one of the articles. Let's go to the next article, and that's on the New York Post page. This article is dated September 8th, 2023, and it's titled "Sadistic Welder Sentenced to 90 Years in Prison After Torturing Man with Blowtorch, assaulting the woman over stolen cartel drugs." A sadistic Nebraska welder was sentenced up to 90 years in prison after he tortured a man with a blowtorch and hung him on a forklift and assaulted a woman over stolen cartel drugs. Tanner Danielson, 31, was sentenced Wednesday to 40 to 50 years for kidnapping and 30 to 40 years for the assault after the heinous July 2022 attacks. Danielson abducted the 26-year-old man after he suspected him of stealing 50 pounds of marijuana worth up to $200,000 that went missing from his house, according to the Lincoln Journal-Star. He said he believed the cartel was going to harm him and his family after the pot was stolen, so he had to do it. The welder kidnapped and tortured the man for more than 12 hours. During the abduction, Danielson burned the word thief onto the unidentified man's body, beat and drugged him, hanged him from the forklift, and shoved a gun in his mouth before leaving him in the countryside tied to a tree. The man only escaped after he miraculously managed to free himself from the tree and ran to the road to flag down help while still handcuffed, the Lincoln Star reported. Danielson also assaulted a woman who had come to the warehouse with him, the outlet reported. He then threatened to unalive her if she reported the crime to the police. The victims were expecting to meet up with Danielson's co-conspirator, Austin Whitham, 28, to buy cocaine, according to Fox News. Whitham has pleaded no contest to assault and false imprisonment. Only a sadistic and evil person could do these things to another human being, Judge Susan Strong told Danielson. Strong said the case was one of the most heinous factual scenarios she has seen. So she's saying in her career, this is probably one of the most heinous cases. Yeah, that's a lot going on. Danielson, meanwhile, begged the court to see me for who I am and not judge him on the sickening crime. I was scared beyond belief. I had no clue what to do, he told the judge. I beg of you to see me for who I am, not for the things I truly felt I had to do to save myself. Well, he could have went to law enforcement. He could have told them about the drugs. He could have told them about the threats because the drugs were missing. He could have said he was fearful. Um, he definitely didn't have to take the steps that he did. Deputy Lancaster County Attorney Jeff Mathers didn't believe Danielson's pleas, saying had to beat, torture, restrain, and leave, possibly for dead, an individual. He had to assault a woman. Ridiculous. Come on. Mathers claimed the perpetrator had a history of violence against women and was involved in the drug trade. The facts in this case are as egregious and depraved as anything I've nearly ever seen. Narcissism, antisocial personality disorder, sociopath, psychopath. I'm sure some or all of them fit, the attorney said. Danielson became involved in the drug trade after meeting people at a concert in Colorado, according to defense attorney Chad Rivers. The welder thought he'd be an easy way to make money one time, but then couldn't get out. Withers said Danielson was high on cocaine at the time of the attack. Wildham will face sentencing next week. Yeah, I told you he was probably high on drugs. But all of this that happened, yeah, that's usually indicative of drug use. So let's go to our last article. The other two articles were referring to the Journal Star, so we're going to end with this. And we have a short video that hopefully will wrap all this up. This is dated September 6, 2023. The title of the article is Judge Calls Case of Kidnapping and Torture one of the most heinous she's come across. Before sending a 31-year-old man to prison for decades, a Lancaster County judge called the case involving a kidnapping, torture, and assault at a warehouse at the edge of Lincoln one of the most heinous factual scenarios she has come across. First, given a chance to speak, Tanner Danielson, 31, said he couldn't believe what's happened. The things I've done, the things I had to do. He said his life was at stake after someone stole 50 pounds of marijuana worth somewhere in the neighborhood of $150,000 to $200,000, according to his attorney, from him after he brought it back from Colorado. So he said when he met the cartel, they gave him these drugs to sell. I was scared beyond belief. I had no clue what to do, he said. There's no short ends, you guys. There's no quick way. It's through hard work. Hard work. There's no easy way out to make money. You have to work hard. Danielson said he'd been sober for over a year, and now, instead of blaming the victim for putting him in this situation, he realizes it happened as a result of his decisions. He just kept going down the wrong road. I beg to see me for who I am, not for the things I truly felt I had to do to save myself, Danielson said. Prosecutors said late July 28, 2022, and over around 12 hours, Danielson, who was a welder, so he was familiar with different tools because that was his job, beat, burned with a blowtorch, and branded the man he believed had taken the drugs before leaving him in the country tied to a tree and assaulting a woman who had come to the warehouse with Danielson, threatening to unalive her if she reported it to the police. Danielson pleaded no contest to an attempted kidnapping and first-degree assault, and at his sentencing Wednesday faced up to 50 years on each charge. Deputy Lancaster County Attorney Jeff Mathers scoffed at Danielson's suggestion he had to do it. Had to be torture, restraint, and leave, possibly for dead an individual. He had to assault a woman. Ridiculous. Come on, Mathers said. He said Danielson was involved in the drug trade and all the dirt that goes along with that, had a history of violence towards women, and should go to prison for a very long time because he's a danger. They're saying he's a danger to society, he's a danger to women, and he had a history of violence. So he's going allegedly to where he belongs, right? In prison. The facts in this case are as egregious and depraved as anything I've nearly ever seen, the longtime prosecutor said. Narcissism, antisocial personality disorder, sociopath, psychopath. I'm sure some or all of them fit. Defense attorney Chad Withers said Danielson had met some people at a concert in Colorado who ended up being drug dealers. Danielson thought he'd make some easy money bringing marijuana back, did it once and thought he could be done, but it wasn't as easy to get out. After Danielson made another trip and the drugs were stolen from his home, he was told he needed to come up with the money or he and family members would be in danger, Withers said. He said Danielson, who was high on cocaine at the time, believed the victim had stolen the drugs, and that's how we find ourselves at the welding shop on the night in question, Withers said. He said Danielson should have gone to law enforcement and asked for help instead of taking matters into his own hands. Withers said, according to Danielson, most of what he done had been at the cartel's direction. In the end, the judge said she didn't think it mattered whether Danielson was under the influence, if this person had stolen something from him, or if he was being threatened by somebody. Only a sadistic and evil person could do these things to another human being, she said. Reading through the victim's detailed account of the torture, which included being force-fed acid tabs. Force-fed acid tabs. Struck in the head with a wrench. Handcuffed and raised by a forklift. Burnt by a blowtorch. Branded. A gun shoved in his mouth. Finally, the 26-year-old was strapped to a tree, left in the middle of nowhere, and told his grandmother and parents would be unalive if he wasn't there when he came back. So Danielson actually threatened him. Strong said after hours he was able to get free and still handcuffed, started walking on a dirt road. A car drove by and I realized I was still alive, she said, reading from the victim's account. I was still alive. A 911 call that followed led deputies to find him walking southeast of Firth. Strong said it was her duty to protect the public from Danielson, and giving you a lengthy term of incarceration is the only way I can do that. After hearing the 70 to 90-year sentence, she said next, Danielson appeared stunned, his mouth agape for more than a minute. His co-defendant, Austin Willem, is set for sentencing next week after pleading no contest to second-degree assault and first-degree false imprisonment. Let me see if I can play the video for you guys. Like reading. It's kind of a long video.
Ready. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming on such short notice. We're here today to provide some information on the arrests of 2 individuals following a kidnapping and assault investigation. With us today are Chief Eunice, Assistant Chief Stilley, Assistant Chief will be addressing the group, followed by a brief question and answer session. We will make an announcement when the question and answer session has ended. Again, thank you all for coming. And at this point, I'll turn it over.
The purpose of this press conference is to provide an overview regarding the arrest of suspects this afternoon in the kidnapping, assault, sexual assault case that occurred in the area 56 and I-80 on July 28th on Thursday evening. On Friday the 29th, at approximately 8:30 in the morning, Lincoln Police Department was notified by Gage County. The old man was located in a jurisdiction bound and walking along a road with obvious injuries. When contacted, the victim indicated that he was kidnapped and beaten at a location in Lincoln prior to being transported to an unknown location in Gage County. During the investigation, it was discovered that a second victim was kidnapped, assaulted, and sexually assaulted. The investigation is ongoing, and at this time, we will not be commenting regarding the second victim. Police investigators followed up throughout the day, and at approximately 3 p.m. on Friday, officers located Austin Widham, 26 years old, at his residence here in Lincoln and took him into custody without incident. He was lodged for kidnapping, first-degree assault, first-degree sexual assault, use of a weapon to commit a felony, .30-year-old Tanner Danielson, also a Lincoln resident, was located and arrested by task force personnel in Rapid City, South Dakota, without incident. Danielson was lodged for the charges of first-degree assault, first-degree sexual assault, use of a weapon to commit a felony, and false imprisonment. Please respect the victims and their families' privacy. And we encourage anyone with information to call 402-441-6000 or make an anonymous report to Crime Stoppers at 402-475-3600. I want to thank the quick response by our investigators and our ongoing collaboration with our area partners, to include Gage County Sheriff's Office and the U.S. Marshal Service. With that, I'll take questions. And again, I will tell you that it's going to be very limited in what we could say, because this is unfolding. As you know, that there is an arrest this afternoon, so we're gathering more and more information.
Well, the arrest this afternoon was Mr. Danielson. I guess you guys think here down at the
I don't know.
You think there's a little bit of
I hope not.
and you said it was a male.
Was a male victim? Yes. Not that we know of at this time.
Expect, I guess, on the second one, was it your investigation if you were able to discover this one? Or, I guess what I'm saying is there any immediate danger to anybody else?
Yeah, let me just be clear. One of the reasons why we wanted to come before you is to let the public know that there was a relationship between all these people. We don't know to what degree, but it is not random. And so we want everyone to understand that this is not random, and we feel very safe that the public is in good hands.
Is it clear, how they were accessing the warehouse for this place?
The ongoing investigation.
And the extent of the injuries.
Again, my name is Jason Stilley. I'm Assistant Chief in charge of investigations. Right now, there are obvious injuries when the male subject was picked up in Gage County. That consists of burns to the face, the arms, the legs, and then also several abrasions. So he was treated at a hospital there in the area, and we'll know a little bit more about the status of his injuries, I guess, as the investigation unfolds.
You know, he's still hospitalized, or?
I don't know that.
Any other questions?
What's he lost?
26. We have it, but we're not providing that quite yet. That was a female.
Do you know why preliminarily these people were targeted?
There's the investigation is following a pretty expected track, but we don't want to rule anything out yet. I think more details will come out, but right now there's some other people that we need to talk to, and we don't necessarily want to spoil their recollection by putting it out in the media. Well, I would say that's a significant injury, and so yes, I think that's pretty significant in my mind.
As I said earlier, this is a case that's unfolding. We are looking for witnesses. This is something that takes time, and all of you we've had this conversation. It takes time to do these investigations. It takes time to put together all the information and understand what exactly happened. And so we ask for people's patience, because this is actually going to take some time. It's going to take a lot of investigators to put everything together and understand it. So we're going to be looking for video. We're going to be looking for all those things that we need to actually put a case together. And so we really want everyone to understand that. We don't want to say anything that's going to jeopardize, like the assistant chief said, their memory, or put anything into anyone's head about this. We need to find the facts. It's that simple. In general, as happened previously, not that I'm aware of. Anything else?
Okay, so you can check that. There's just a few seconds left on the video. They didn't give a lot of information. I think that was one of the initial press conferences when the victim was found. So they didn't have a lot of information. They were still on initial investigation track. But now we know Mr. Danielson has been sentenced. He has multiple decades of time. And then Mr. Wildham, he'll be sentenced within the next week. So I don't think he's going to get as much time because his charges were completely different. So I just want to remind people, make sure whenever you do something, you think about the long-term effects. How much is this going to cost you? What are you going to have to do to get out of it? Can you get out of it? If you decide to change your mind and you don't want to go for it on something, can you get out of it? Can you get away? Can you just change your mind and, do what you want to do? Because a lot of times when you get involved in different elements of crime, different groups, possibly a gang, you can't just change how you feel, and there is intimidation, there's threats, and different things like that, where it could be retribution to you if you decide you want to get out. So I would just say, especially for the youth, think about not just today. Think about in a year, 5 years, where you would be with this. A lot of this will lead you to just two places. One, prison, of course, and then the second is the grave. If you are lucky enough to get out of it, there, like I said, may be retribution. You may have to go into hiding or move out of state, change your identity. Sometimes it's very hard to get away from this. So I would just recommend from the onset, don't do it. He already had a job. He was a welder. He could have stayed working. He could have started his own business. He could have maybe decided to go and get a trade or go to college, whatever. Didn't have to turn down this path. So I just recommend everybody just stand above board, just working hard. You know, you can get ahead with hard work. So I want to encourage that. So thank you for checking out this video. I hope you check out some of my other videos, my other content, and have a wonderful Sunday. Have a beautiful day. Okay, just saying bye. Bye to all my friends. Have a beautiful day, everybody. Thank you for checking out this video.